I think if you come away with at least one or two sort of new perspectives in terms of, what a religion represents, then it's a better knowledge and a better understanding of what's happening.
There should be no compulsion. Even compulsion is not very accurate. There is no coercion. So because compulsion might convey the meaning of using physical force, but there is no even coercion, because I could twist your arms or exploit your needs in order to bring you to faith. It has to be totally moral and ethical approach of sharing the message of Islam. We find, for example, the Quran says, and I think that's one in Surah Al-Nahl, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil-hikmati wal-maw'idati al-hasana wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan." First, I invite. And when I say invite, means not force or manipulate. When I invite you for dinner, I have a nice, delicious food for you. I invite you as a courtesy because I believe that I have something very nice and nutritious for you. But if you say, no thank you, I would not get upset. I shouldn't get upset. Nor should I resort to violence or force and drag you from your home and say, you sit here, open your mouth and thrust the food in your mouth, no matter how much I believe it's good and delicious for you. Da'wah means the right for you to accept or reject. There is no consequences of your acceptance or rejection. You go on in analyzing the ayah, the verse that just recited. Invite you to what? Okay, I gave the food just as an example to explain what invitation means. But in the, again, technical sense, the Islamic sense, I'm not inviting you to a nationalistic view. I'm from Egypt, so I invite you to embrace my culture. I'm not even inviting you to embrace culture of Muslims, because I shock people sometimes by saying there are many un-Islamic Muslim cultures. Muslims are practicing certain things that are even against Islam. So I'm not inviting anybody to that. I'm inviting, even before I say inviting to Islam, I'm inviting to the way of the Lord, to show that Islam is not just, I'm inviting you from one religion to come from one religion to another religion. I'm inviting you to the way of Allah, which is the way of all of the prophets, which is Islam in the generic sense, to achieve peace with Allah, inner peace, and peace with all the creations, humans, animals, vegetation, ecology, through willing submission and acceptance of the grace and guidance of Allah. Sabili Rabbika. Not inviting to myself or my empire or anything.
I think it's important to the British public that we move away from these negative connotations, because quite clearly from the messages I'm seeing here, Islam's about peace, it's about friendship, it's about charity, it's about equality. And the 5 pillars that have been talked about there are common sense, peaceful ways to live your life, and I think that's a message that I'll take away from today. It's really important to take that away from here. So,
you can go, there are going to be bigoted people in all religions and all societies, and they're going to stay bigoted whatever you do. But something like this I think is great, because it does give some basic background information and understanding, and we were smiling at one piece about respecting elderly people and not getting irritated with people who are old, and thinking particularly of our in-laws and things like that, where it's not always easy to do. And anything that teaches you to do that is brilliant.
How important is it for the Muslims to do this in other areas as well?
Yeah, I think it's about reaching out into the wider public, isn't it, and developing an understanding of the people, especially with a largely secular population in the UK these days. I'm a Roman Catholic myself, and so I understand a little bit of the common roots that we share with Islam in our beliefs, and we believe in the same God. But I think outside of faith, there are a large number of people in the UK who don't understand faith-based systems, and Islam and the Muslim community reaching out to these people and providing gentle education, I think, is to be welcomed. Promotes understanding.
I remember somebody from Denmark 2 years ago who wrote on our guest book. He said, that's a great exhibition, you should do that, come in Denmark and do that. And I was thinking, yeah, that's true, especially in Denmark, when they had all these problems with the cartoons about the prophet. And also somebody from Japan came last year and she said, wow, that's magnificent, you should come to Japan. In Japan we don't we know nothing about Islam. And also I was traveling to the US, traveling to France because well, it's my own country. And when I presented that project and what we are doing, all people had very good feedback and they just were amazed that something like that would work. And I believe that it should encourage people to do the same.
Islam does not call on Muslims to isolate from the societies where they're living in, even if there are issues or problems they have with those societies. We find that in the history of all of the prophets. There are all kinds of problems and malaises that existed at the time of the prophets, yet they were living among their people and bearing sometimes even their hurt and their attacks against them in a variety of ways. The Prophet ﷺ did not say, oh, that society, the Jahili pre-Islamic society with all its ignorance and sin is not good for me, so I isolate myself. Islam doesn't call us on this. Islam calls us to be beneficent members of society, to learn and to try to communicate with others. It is through this that we can project the proper image of Islam. And then the Quran gives us two guidelines in this. How to do it. Bil-hikmah. Wisdom, in my humble definition, in the context of da'wah, is to say the right thing to the right person, in the right time, in the right circumstances, in the right way. That could be a whole presentation by itself, but just hikmah, wisdom, is a great gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Means something that's more effective, the way you communicate, what do you communicate to the person, how much do you communicate. These are all related to the question of wisdom or giving proofs also.